An old man is crawling on his hands and knees through the streets of the city at night. People stop and stare. Police officers try to lift him up, and he begs them to leave him alone. He's not lost. He's not unwell. He's doing exactly what a serial killer ordered him to do, because that killer has his granddaughter. This is Copycat Killer. And by the time you understand why a grandfather is crawling through the streets in the dark, you'll already know this story isn't really about catching a murderer. It's about what we do when we're watching one. Taiwan, 1997. A serial killer is terrorizing the city, and the police aren't even close to catching him. For weeks, he's been sending videotapes to every TV channel. The channels argue about whether they should broadcast them. Then they all do it anyway because they're competing for ratings. The killer calls himself No, and he taunts the one man who's made it his mission to stop him, a prosecutor named Kuo Xiaoqi. Kuo is the kind of prosecutor that powerful people can't stand. He once arrested his own boss for running illegal activities, and it didn't matter to him that the scandal damaged the public image of the police. He believed he was right, and he had no regrets. He doesn't apologize for doing his job. He also carries something private, a family tragedy from his past that the show keeps close to its chest, but that sits underneath everything he does. It's why he can't stand by while someone gets hurt. It's the engine under all of it. Now that same instinct, the same refusal to look away, has put him face to face with something he's never seen. A killer who doesn't hide. A killer who broadcasts. It starts in a park. A young woman is walking her dog. The dog won't stop barking near a patch of grass. She finds a red gift box under a tree, the kind you'd wrap a present in. She opens it. There's a severed human hand inside. The police arrive, led by Kuo, alongside a detective named Lin Shangyang. Shangyang assumes it's a debt thing or a domestic dispute. Kuo disagrees. He thinks it's premeditated. Whoever did this wrapped the hand carefully. Whoever did this wanted it found. The forensic team confirms it. The victim was killed first, then the hand was severed. There's bruising around the fingers from a very specific kind of handcuff. The coroner remembers a victim with the exact same bruising 2 years earlier, a woman named Zhang Xiaoping, murdered and buried outside the city. The killer in that case turned himself in, case closed. Except Kuo notices the old confession doesn't add up. So he drives to the prison and meets the man who confessed. He brings the specialized handcuffs and asks him to demonstrate how he used them. The man fumbles. He gets one finger in and loses the rhythm completely. He clearly has no idea how they work. Kuo sits there and knows. This man was a decoy. The real killer has been free for 2 years, and he's the one who left the hand in that park. Investigating the old case, Kuo learns that Zhang Xiaoping used to share a room with a woman named Lu Yanzhen, who now works as a reporter. He goes to see her. She tells him she and Xiaoping were close, 2 women relying on each other far from their families. After Xiaoping was killed, Lu Yanzhen became a journalist herself, so there would be no more victims like her friend. From that conversation on, she and Kuo are connected, not romantically, just 2 people chasing the same shadow. Meanwhile, another young woman is grabbed off the street and dragged into a red van. Her name is Yi-jun, a trainee teacher. After she vanishes, her grandfather, Mr. Ma, spends every night handing out flyers, stopping strangers, praying at his small temple, keeping the lights on at home in case she comes back. He raised her. Her parents divorced when she was a child, and now her mother is in a coma after an accident, just days after Yi-jun disappeared. Mr. Ma is the only family she has left. And then there's the moment that defines this entire series. The red van stops briefly, right outside Mr. Ma's temple. Yi-jun is in the back, alive, tied up. She sees her grandfather through the windshield. She bangs her head against the glass to get his attention. He hears something. He walks toward the van. But the window only gives him back his own reflection. He can't see in. The killer drives away before he gets close enough. She watched her grandfather walk right past her, and she couldn't reach him. 2 people separated by a pane of glass, both looking, neither seeing. That's the whole show in one image. Everyone in Copycat Killer spends the next 10 episodes staring right at the truth and not seeing it. Then the killer calls. The phone rings in Mr. Ma's house late at night. The voice is calm, almost polite. He makes Yi-jun scream so the old man can hear her. Then he gives his instruction. Get on your hands and knees, crawl through the streets and bark like a dog until midnight. Do that, and maybe I'll let her go." Mr. Ma doesn't hesitate. He puts the phone down, walks outside, gets on the ground, and crawls. People stop and stare. Some recognize him from the flyers. 2 police officers try to pull him up, and he begs them to leave him alone. He has to do this. He's been told to. So he crawls, for hours, through the streets, while a whole city watches an old man humiliate himself in the dark, and nobody understands why. At midnight, he gets home. There's a red box waiting on his table. Inside is his granddaughter's underwear and a videotape. The tape shows Yi-jun, tied up, being told to pray to her God to save her. She refuses. She tells the killer she knows he'll never let her go. The voice gets angry. The tape cuts off. The next morning, her body is found near a Christian temple. The killer knew she'd been secretly baptized as a child, a detail even her grandfather didn't know. He knew it anyway. Mr. Ma collapses. Kuo watches a man's entire life break in front of him. Outside the temple, reporters swarm him with questions. He answers none of them. He just lets the silence say what he's decided. The case becomes a national obsession. Every news cycle is the killer. Every panel show is the killer. The media pressures the authorities until the police form a dedicated team just to find No. The killer didn't create this audience. The audience was already there. At the biggest channel, an ambitious anchor named Yan-Hsi wants the ratings. She invites Mr. Ma onto her live show and has him beg the killer publicly to return his granddaughter's body. Then she opens the phone lines for viewers. The first caller doesn't blame the killer. He blames Yi-jun. Says a girl who went to a club like that deserved what happened. Says her grandfather raised her wrong. Mr. Ma sits under the studio lights and absorbs it. He has nothing left to defend. Off camera, Lu Yan-zhen watches her boss use a grieving old man for ratings and something in her snaps. She confronts Yan-Hsi after the show. The killer is one problem. The people who keep watching are another. And the show makes you sit with that. More women disappear. Then a red box turns up on Detective Shang Yong's own car. His daughter, Lin Yutong, has been taken. Shang Yong barely holds together. He's already a man at war with himself over how distant he and his daughter became, how he found her at the nightclub, how it's all gone wrong. Now she's in the killer's hands. The killer's call this time comes through a cameraman at the TV channel, a quiet young man named Hu Jianho. The killer wants Shang Yong to beg for his daughter's life on national television. As Shang Yong walks out of the TV station, the red van pulls up and parks right behind him. To taunt him, his daughter is tied up inside, watching her father through the window, and the killer drives off right under his nose. Shang Yong decides to go on live TV and beg. Kuo doubts it'll work. The grandfather obeyed every instruction, and his granddaughter died anyway. So Kuo drives to the studio and crashes the broadcast, pulling the feed dead. Shang Yong, enraged, punches him on camera, certain that Kuo is the one putting his daughter at risk. The country watches 2 officers of the law brawl on national television while the killer watches from somewhere quiet. The next day, Kuo is hauled in front of the commissioner and reamed out. The investigation is bleeding credibility, and the killer is feeding on it. Soon after, broken and desperate, Shang Yong resigns to search for his daughter alone. But Kuo has one more thread to pull: the lipstick. All the victims have been found with the same lipstick on their faces. Same brand, same color, a product discontinued more than 40 years ago. The trail leads to a woman named Xiao Lin, who died several months ago. The cameraman, Jian Ho, once had a conviction for badly assaulting a classmate as a minor, and for a moment he becomes a suspect. But the truth is the opposite of what it looks like. As a boy, Jian Ho was the one being bullied, nearly drowned in a water tank by a girl named Xiao Lin. His friend Shen Jiawen protected him and beat the bully, and Jian Ho took the blame to cover for his friend. He's felt indebted to Jiawen ever since. That's why he keeps protecting him, even now. Kuo goes to Shen Jiawen's house. His mother answers the door. She's clearly unwell, talking about a daughter who's away at university. While she makes tea, Kuo slips upstairs. He finds a room full of dolls, stacked red boxes, the same kind the killer leaves at every scene. The same lipstick on the vanity. and he finds the truth about Shen Jiawun. His mother had a daughter once who died as an infant. She never recovered. She gave her son the dead girl's name. She dressed him as a girl and forced him to play the part of a daughter who died before he was born. She raised him to be a ghost, and he's haunted by one. When he sees his dead sister's ghost, he loses control and attacks whoever is in front of him. Jiawun is the DJ at the Kink nightclub, the one all the victims kept visiting. The police bring him in, and in the interrogation room, he starts hallucinating the ghost in the corner of the ceiling. Kuo is about to break him open. Then his lawyer walks in. Behind the lawyer is one of the most powerful politicians in the country, a man with private financial interests in that nightclub. He doesn't make threats, he doesn't need to. Mentions that the police are pressuring a club he invests in and suggests Kuo look elsewhere. Shen Jiawun walks out of the station that day. Lu Yanzhen's research later turns up something even darker. That politician had a hidden relationship with Jiawun's mother around the time Jiawun was born, which means Jiawun may be his son. Shangyong does something no one can predict. He buys an illegal gun and follows Jiawun to an abandoned building. He gets the upper hand, beats him, and demands to know where his daughter is. Then Jiawun plays subdued, snaps back, and pushes him down. Shangyong is rushed to the hospital in critical condition. He survives, barely. Meanwhile, Jianho, who can't ignore what he suspects, goes to confront Jiawun one last time. He finds his friend packing a car. There's a woman screaming from the trunk. Jianho pushes past to open it, and Jiawun, seeing his sister's ghost again, snaps. He hits Jianho with a rock and forces him into the car. Jiawun drives off wildly, hallucinating the ghost everywhere, screaming at her to die. He tries to run her down on the road, but there's nobody there, and the car goes off a cliff. The police find it the next morning. Shen Jiawun is dead. Hu Jianho is dead in the back seat, but the woman tied in the trunk is alive. It's Shangyong's daughter, Yu Tong. The country exhales. The news reports that the killer is dead. The case is closed. Mothers let their daughters out at night again. Editorials are written about how the police finally got him. Kuo Xiaoqi doesn't believe a word of it, because Mr. Ma noticed something nobody else did. He visits Kuo and tells him quietly that the voice that called him on the phone, the voice that ordered him to crawl, was not the same voice that called the TV station to taunt the police. One sounded older, more certain. They were two different men. If there were two voices, there were two killers, and one of them is still out there, and he's been watching the whole time. Hu Jianho, the dead cameraman, has a sister, Hu Yunhui, a psychologist, and someone from Kuo's past. They were close once. She refuses to believe her brother was a murderer, and she begs Kuo to find the truth. The case is officially closed, but Kuo reopens it quietly, off the books. He goes through everything, every videotape, every news clip, every photograph from every scene, and he keeps seeing the same face in the background, a man named Chen He-ping, the host of the biggest crime show in the country, the journalist who's been covering these murders harder than anyone, the man with a best-selling book rushed to print, packed with details the police never released in the correct order. That night, his uncle, the man who raised him, mentioned something. He had Chen He-ping in his taxi recently. The man asked an unusual number of questions about Kuo, about his life, about his family. Kuo goes very still, because this is what Chen He-ping does. He studies people. He learns exactly what hurts them, and then he uses it. The team maps Chen He-ping's history. His parents both died when he was a child. His father electrocuted, his mother in a fire. Neither death was natural. As a boy, he caught a puppy, put it in a sack, and set it on fire. When his parents found out, he pretended to cry, and he learned right then that he could perform an emotion and control how people saw him. Here's the full truth. Years earlier, Yan-Hsi, that same ambitious anchor, assigned Chen He-ping to report on an illegal club called Sodom. There he discovered he enjoyed other people's pain. There he met Shen Jiawun and a photographer named Tian Kunyi, a man already broken, already capable of violence, just waiting for someone to aim him. So Chen He-ping aimed him. He directed the abductions, he directed the murders, and he made it all look like the work of Shen Jiawun. When Tian Kunyi wanted out, Chen He-ping threatened his father and forced him to take the blame for the old murder, the one that sent him to prison as a decoy. And now Jia-won is dead, Tian is in prison, and the whole country thinks the killer is gone, while the real one hosts the highest-rated crime show on television. He isn't finished. Tian Kunyi, in prison, is visited by Hu Yun-hui, who's become his therapist. He tells her about the guilt he's carried, about a girl killed in front of him while he only took pictures. He asks her to tell his father he loves him. Then he takes his own life in front of her. Yan-Hsi, suspicious of Chen He-ping, arranges to meet the former owner of the Sodom Club to buy information. The meeting is a trap. The man attacks her, and then Chen He-ping appears, kills him, and takes Yan-Hsi somewhere private. He ties her up. He films her. He wants her to praise him, to admit on camera that he's exceptional. She looks at him with her hands bound and her face bloodied, and she tells him exactly what he is, a pathetic, attention-starved, insignificant man. He kills her with the camera still rolling. Her body turns up, the country panics again, and the next day, Chen He-ping is on television, grieving for his murdered colleague while his ratings climb. Lu Yanzhen finds Yan-Hsi's cigarette case sitting on Chen He-ping's desk. She knows. She also knows she can't prove it, and she knows what happens to people who try. She goes to Kuo. He can't tell her what he knows, because telling her would put her next on the list, so he sends her away and keeps working. Then Chen He-ping sends a tape addressed straight to Kuo. He announces that everyone has darkness inside them and that he's going to make Kuo show his own. Kuo fears for his uncle. He's wrong about the target. That night, the killer goes after Hu Yun-hui. Kuo rushes home and finds her dead by the roadside. The woman he once loved, the sister of the dead cameraman. The only person besides him who never stopped believing the case wasn't finished. In the garage, Chen He-ping is waiting. Calm, smiling. He taunts Kuo about how she died, and Kuo's mind goes somewhere very far away. He pulls his pistol. He shoots Chen He-ping. Then he walks out, sits down on the curb, and waits for his colleagues to come and arrest him. This is exactly what Chen He-ping wanted. He survives. He plays the victim in every interview. The country, already half convinced the police are the real problem, turns on Kuo. Kuo is sent to prison for shooting an unarmed, innocent man. Without him, the investigation collapses. Chen He-ping takes over the channel, sets the national agenda, and the killer becomes a folk hero. Young men start wearing his mask in the streets. Copycats commit crimes in his image. Society begins to come apart, and Chen He-ping smiles through all of it because chaos is the thing he always wanted. In prison, Kuo is beaten by inmates who worship the killer, beaten badly enough to be hospitalized. He doesn't fight back, he just keeps thinking. Mr. Ma visits him once. The old man apologizes. He tells Kuo he did everything he could. Kuo tells him he's sorry he couldn't save his granddaughter, and Mr. Ma tells him that he still believes in him. So Kuo writes down a plan. He requests to appear on Chen He-ping's show, to publicly apologize for shooting him. Chen He-ping accepts instantly. The disgraced prosecutor on his knees, in front of him, on live television. His greatest moment. The broadcast begins. Kuo apologizes. Chen He-ping leans back in his chair and savors it. Then the phone lines open. The first caller claims to be the real No. He accuses Chen He-ping of stealing his work, of being a fraud who put another man's murders in a book to sell copies. He calls him insignificant. Chen He-ping's composure starts to crack. And Kuo, who understands exactly what this man is, turns to him and says it plainly. The killer is no artist. These murders aren't art. They're the product of a small man's rage. Anyone could have done them, which makes the killer nothing, a nobody. The exact word Yan-Hsi used the night before he killed her. The cameras are still rolling. Chen He-ping snaps. He stands up and starts shouting every reason he's special, every way he's different, everything he's done that nobody understands. And on live national television, he confesses to all of it. It was a trap the whole time. The police already knew he was the killer. They just needed the confession, and now they have it, and it leads them to the ashtray he used to kill Yan-Hsi, still bloodstained, hidden in his office. They raid it. They arrest him. Kuo looks at him, calm, and tells him the truth he can't bear to hear. He'll always be a nobody because everything he did was just a desperate attempt to prove he existed. He's sentenced to life in prison. As he's led from the courthouse, a crowd of his masked supporters has gathered, demanding his release. A masked man steps out of that crowd and stabs him in the stomach. Chen He-ping collapses on the courthouse steps. And even dying, his last instinct is to look into the cameras and tell them to keep filming. Even at the end, he wanted to be watched. A few years later, Kuo Xiaoqi walks out of prison. He doesn't go back to being a prosecutor. He becomes a lawyer, the kind who works for people the system has already given up on. Mr. Ma has found a quiet peace. He still visits the temple, still keeps a photograph of his granddaughter by the window. Shang Yang has recovered. He spends more time with his daughter now, gentler than he used to be. And Lu Yanzhen has become the chief anchor at the channel. She refuses to run the kind of show Yao Yachi used to. She tells stories about victims instead of stories about killers. She still asks Kuo for a statement now and then. He still gives them. There are still murders. There are still men who want to be famous for being cruel. There are still cameras pointed at them and audiences waiting to watch. The show ends quietly. No big speech. Just a city turning slowly back toward its routines and the question that's been buried under every single episode finally surfacing. Why do we keep watching? Chen He-ping did what he did because he was certain that if he made the violence loud enough, the cameras would come. And they did. Every single time. The horror of Copycat Killer isn't the killer. The horror is what he understood about the rest of us. That the line between watching a tragedy and feeding it is thinner than we'd ever want to admit. That was Copycat Killer. Subscribe for more recaps that actually mean something. I'll see you in the next one.